Let's bring in Dennis Darby, CEO and President of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. Dennis, thank you for being here. Let's start with the Prime Minister's visit to Mar-a-Lago. How hopeful are you that progress was made when it comes to addressing trade and tariffs?
Well, first of all, I think it was totally appropriate for the Prime Minister to go and meet the President-elect because an application of tariffs between Canada and the U.S. would be devastating, not just to Canadian manufacturers and workers, but to U.S. consumers and companies as well, because those tariffs would apply to so many goods that are part of the supply chain. So it's really a lose-lose for both countries if those tariffs were to be applied to manufactured goods. Remembering that 75% of everything we sell to the U.S. are manufactured goods, not finished products, mostly ingredients and parts, whether it's aerospace, automotive, or construction materials. We're part of the broader North American supply chain. So a tariff applied anywhere within that system is just going to be inflationary.
So what would you like to see when it comes to policies from Ottawa to help protect Canadian manufacturers?
Well, first of all, we have this very great trade agreement. CUSMA, the U.S. calls it USMCA, but that three-country agreement has been accretive to all countries, and I think it's really important for us, for Canadians, for Canadian business, for government to underscore to the U.S. and to the incoming administration how changing what we have, like with a tariff, would hurt the U.S. economy. And I think that's the way we have to explain it, whether we're talking to our trade association partners in the States or to policymakers for things like, auto parts, aerospace parts, chemicals, oil and gas. If you tariff those things, that increases the cost to American consumers and American business. And it really is not as easy as just saying, well, we'll find an alternative, because over the last 30 years, our manufacturing sector has integrated across Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, so that it's very difficult to say whether a part or an ingredient is Canadian or American or Mexican. It's because in this region, we don't compete like, say, two countries trying to sell goods to each other. What we actually do in North America is make stuff together, and that's what makes these tariffs particularly troublesome for everybody. So I think it's very appropriate for the government to make its case to the U.S., but really make it from the point of view, Renee, of it's bad for the U.S. as well, and maybe that will help us resolve the problem.
So realistically, what could be done to help avoid punishing tariffs on both sides?
Well, certainly, we understand, that the U.S. wants to protect its market. And of course, you saw recently with the tariffs on Chinese steel, aluminum, and EVs, and Canada went right along with the U.S. And I think that's the appropriate response. When we're so integrated, that $2 billion a day of manufactured goods that cross the border. So that's the right that we need to be aligned with the U.S. on these kinds of policies, because we can't be a place where goods come in through the back door. So that's probably one part. We need to align our policies with respect to unfair trading practices. Other than that, we need to make sure that the U.S. understands that we don't apply these tariffs, that they will be bad for everyone. So I think the government's doing the right thing. The system works. We have a trade agreement that gets renewed in 2026. In fact, we recently met with our counterparts from the U.S. and Mexico in Ottawa to talk about renegotiating that agreement, which we know comes up in 2026. The recent announcement or the comment by President-elect Trump, really, surprised everybody. But we understand that we're going to have to work very carefully and very clearly with why these kinds of disruptions, like a tariff, would hurt the U.S., hurt U.S. consumers, and what more importantly, be inflationary when you think about it, because it'll raise the price of goods in Canada, but in the U.S. as well.
All right, we will have to leave it there. Dennis, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it. And that is Dennis Darby, CEO and President of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters.